and was super smitten super quickly, and called him back later that day and said I wanted to do it. So Todrick and I met about 2 days later for breakfast and just really hit it off. His manager, I guess, I didn't know this till later, but wanted him to meet with other filmmakers, and he was like, no, if she wants to do it, that's who I want to do it with. So it was just kind of like a nice mutual attraction. And then I started filming about 3 days later, so it was a quick start, and then he had already started filming a couple of the videos, but was just getting going with the rest of them and the album and everything, so I really hit the ground running. And then filmed over the course of the summer, so it was about like 3 months, and then about 4 or 5 months of editing, which is also very quick for a feature-length doc. And then we were in, so I didn't even know who Todrick was till June, and then we were in South by in March. So
what was the editing process like?
Hellish. I mean, it was a lot of footage. I had, I don't know, maybe 250 hours of footage or something to cut through. So a lot of it was just even taking it down to a manageable amount. You know, my first pass, I took it down to about 30 hours or something, and then from there I took it down to about 4. And then it was just a matter of, there were a couple things that I knew that I wanted to do. One was that I wanted to incorporate his lyrics as much as possible and use those to tell the story, because I thought that that would both be engaging and entertaining, but also really sort of authentic because it'd be in his words. So I knew that I wanted to find a way to weave those in, but then I also thought that I might have to do it a little bit non-linearly, because I knew that in order to use a lot of the lyrics, I would have to use a lot of the performance, which means that I had to get to the performance first. So I had to kind of like knock out the whole like preamble to getting to the first performance before I could really delve into the lyrics of the songs. So then that meant that once I was into performance time, I would still be going back to some of the footage from the rehearsal process and stuff like that. So it ended up being like a little bit non-linear, which isn't super normal for a documentary, but it felt like the most genuine way to tell his story.
Really, really great movie.
Thank you. Appreciate you saying that.
Were there any obstacles that, you know, it looked pretty, it's an amazing amount of work you put into it.
Yeah.
Any obstacles that
There were so many obstacles I couldn't even begin to name them all. I mean, one thing I did have with this film that I didn't have in my prior films was a budget. It was still pretty modest, but it was nice to have a production company that could just kind of handle all the things that really needed to be paid for, whereas my prior productions had been much scrappier. It was really just me funding them. So in a sense, that part of the headache was taken away, but there was just so many elements at play. I was doing so much of the work by myself, by my choosing, so I have no one to blame for that, but it just ended up, like, even just physically finding Todrick every day and all throughout the day was like challenging in and of itself, because he's just all over the map and doing so many things at once, and just even keeping tabs on him was troublesome. And then he just works like 23 hours out of 24, and so even just, not only was it taxing just to be filming him that much, but I then had to ingest all my footage into the computer and back it all up and make sure all the sound was synced, and there's so many elements to it beyond just the actual filming hours, so it ended up being just incredibly laborious. But it was fun because I was really just matching Todrick's energy. You know, I didn't put in a second more work than he did, so and nor a second more work than anyone else in the cast. So it was kind of nice that we were all in it together, just really like grinding it out together. So yeah, it's kind of like that.
Person in the back.
Awesome cinematography. You had mentioned earlier about the editing process.
Yeah.
This is just speaking from a gay black man's perspective.
Yeah.
But was there purposeful editing or scenes left out mentioning that he's with a Caucasian man? Because he was there clearly showing interaction, but it was never mentioned that this is my lover, my boyfriend, my husband.
Yeah, I mean, there's a title card that introduces him as his boyfriend. I mean, it's certainly not something I intentionally left out, but it's not something that really came up that much. I mean, I think for someone like Todrick, I mean, he's really used to living in a mixed environment, being from the Valley world and stuff. I think it's just not something that is a huge part of his life. I mean, it's something that in passing he would maybe mention that his fan, I think it's like more on his fans' mind than on his mind. Like it's something that
Clearly.
comes up in,
Clearly.
yeah, I mean, it's something that comes up in like, I don't know, forums or on like internet, you know, like comments and stuff on Instagram, but they're not together anymore, if that makes a difference.
Yes, right there.
Yeah.
I was questioning the font choice used for the title cards, was that?
The font is his handwriting.
Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that he does a lot of like note writing and stuff to his fans. Like he has this like kind of ridiculous Disney-ish handwriting that, that's also really, beautiful and consciously, you know, it's like calligraphy sort of, and his fans know it well because he's often writing things down, like, and then photographing them for Instagram posts and stuff, so that's where it came from.
What part of the movie, being that you did it, you put it together, that you thought was the most poignant or most interesting to you?
One of my favorite moments I actually didn't even realize would be, I didn't quite realize how powerful it would feel to me until later. Mostly just because at the time it was really hard to hear, which is part of why the audio isn't very good, but it's that moment with Nathaniel, the young kind of rising Broadway star that he calls up on stage. And I think that kind of like is a symbol for, it's like kind of Todrick passing on the baton, and like he has become the person that he didn't have to look to when he was a kid, and that's just the perfect exemplification of that, right? Like this kid, and the kid articulates it so beautifully, you know, he's just like, you're so impactful, yeah, you're my color, I stand taller because of you, and it's like, that's what it's all about in that small little moment.
There was a lot of fear. At any point did you feel when you was doing this, doing the documentary, did you feel a fear that was really strong in it, that showed a whole bunch of courage and bravery?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel much fear. I guess it's the same is true with my film Call Me Cuckoo. I didn't really feel much fear for a couple reasons. One, because I'm not really the one in the crosshairs. I mean, I might be like kind of caught in something like, but really it's Todrick who's so brave for standing up on stage every night. So to some degree I feared for him, but when you're in the moment, you just kind of like continuing with what you know to be right, and you kind of have to put the consequences to the side. Like I wouldn't trade, like what's the alternative? You just stay home. Like what Todrick is doing is important, and I believe in it. What I'm doing is important, and I believe in it. So I'm not gonna stop doing it, nor is he, just because of you know, the threats that may exist. So it's just something that you know, when we like sit down and talk about it, the fear might be there, but day to day, you just cast it aside and don't feel it.
One more question?
It's a comment. I just want to say that I think that you did a great job of making people who don't really understand love, same gender love, understand as love. And you know, I just encourage you to continue to make that story, because there's still a lot of us out here who really don't understand it. You know?
Yeah.
And continue to be sensitive. Like there's a couple sound bites that you grabbed directly from him that spoke to that.
Like what?
And you said like what?
Yeah, I'm just curious what felt that way to you.
He said that, you know, so much is presented about the sexuality. But I want to show more love. But I'm just saying, it's throughout the film itself.
Yeah.
Like that was a repeating theme.
Yeah.
It appeared as a love story. You know, love between him and his mother.
Yeah.
You know, love between him and his grandparents. You know, love between him and his lover. You know, it was a love story. I thought
Right.
you did a great job of communicating.
Well, I'm really happy that's how it felt to you, because that's totally my intention. That's what I seek to do with pretty much anything that I do. And I think to some degree, I mean, there's arguments to be made for like the outsider not being the best one to tell a tale, but I think there's also just as many arguments for the opposite. You know, I think anyone's perspective is valid. And, you know, I'm not gay, and I'm not black, and I'm not a man, and I don't do ballet, and I didn't grow up in Texas, and there's all these reasons why, like, I'm not the right person to be telling this story. But on the other hand, you know, like, I feel for him, and I connect with him on so many levels, and I have just made it my business to figure out ways to turn what I feel in my own life and put it outwards. You know, like, what is it about Todrick that I feel so connected to, even though we're so different? And I don't know, that's just something that I try to focus on, and hopefully it comes across.
Okay, real quick, yes.
This film is here, but do you have any other venue where this film can be seen again?
Not here in Baltimore at the moment. It's playing around the country at various film festivals, but it will be in more regular distribution in the coming months. We're hoping to do a limited theatrical run, and then it will surely be online and streaming platforms at some point in the near future.
But this is the first time it's being shown in Maryland.
Yes, this is the Maryland premiere, for sure.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
I fell in love with Todrick Hall.
He has that way with people.
Yes, yes. I think he's a very special person. Amazingly wise.
Yeah.
But from the film, I just felt such great energy.
Mm.
It was wonderful. I thank you all.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. His energy is absolutely knows no bounds. It's really remarkable to be around. And what I love about it so much is that he really utilizes it in the best. I think a lot of people have a lot of energy, but he's really managed a way to channel his energy to really see his dreams through to fruition, which is no easy feat. I mean, being someone who works freelance and is like, my day is only productive as I make it. Like, I know how hard that is, and he is so good at doing it. Despite whatever roadblocks he may hit, you know, budgetary or time or whatever, he just never, he refuses to like bring his dreams down to meet the reality of the situation. He manages to make the reality of the situation expand to the size of his dreams, and I think that's pretty remarkable. Thank you so much.